Alright, so on the manifold, these all come out. There's a little Torx screw down the centre of them. They have to come out, and then these just snap off the tops of these. Those just push down as far as they'll go and come out with these little holders. They sit in the inside there like that. Not the easiest thing to put together, but yeah, they sit inside there. They all come out as one piece. I'm not going to put them back in. One of them's already broken. They're on the verge of becoming more small, potentially inlet valve damaging parts, even though they are actually slightly dovetailed, so yeah, no, it's not really worth it. They are dovetailed in there, but I'm not sure if I want them in there. I think I'll leave them out just as per the illustrations that I've seen online of people doing this. I realise I'm using MIG wire, I don't have any aviation lock wire, but that'll do. You got to pick these things out, tap your thread in there, cross drill your plugs, screw them in, and you're done. So I'm going to finish lock wiring this, pull that out, and we'll put the servo back on and just leave it, and that'll do it. They're the seals that I got. I couldn't find them on eBay in Australia, so I just ordered them from the UK. They took just as long to come in from the UK as it probably would from Queensland, so that's always good. Yeah, anyway. Okay, so there were two options. One of them is I've got a bit of 10mm stainless plate. I've got to mill at least part of it down to match that flange, but I'm thinking the easiest is going to be aluminium, and I'm going to tap 1/2" BSP thread into it and just mount a brass nipple on it instead of TIG welding a stainless one onto it. I've already made this one, just turned a double-ended pipe joining nipple down into a hose barb, and yeah, it's going to thread in. I'll obviously have to machine the back of it off. I'll tap the thread deep enough to bottom out these ones here. My only concern is it's only 7mm of thickness, so unless this can recess into the block a bit, even then it still is going to be a bit of a leak issue if it's not perfect. But that's where good old Loctite comes in handy, I guess. We'll just goo the thing in there and torque it down nice and tight, and she ain't going anywhere. Very good. So I guess I'd better start cutting that plate. Yeah, that'll be big enough. It's only this ear I've got to worry about, because the inlet manifold actually bolts up to that as well. It bolts up flat. So I've got to get this thickness down from 10mm to 7 by milling it. So I'll cut a section of that off. I'll set it in the milling vise somehow. I don't even have a proper milling vise at the moment, so it's going to be fun. I might even just I think I'll just profile it square, and a bit of a cutout for the inlet manifold if necessary, and I'll just mill the corner down. It only has to be that one corner there. The manifold doesn't go over this, so it's just that one little cutout. You can see where they've taken a fly cutter and just gone zap and taken that out. So that's the only really important bit, because let's see if I can do this one-handed. Goes there. So that's what we're contending with. Because I'm not putting that heavy piece of junk back on. We don't need a fuel heat exchanger in this climate. If it was like -15, I'd be worried about it. Like in winter times, I'd be worried about it, but Australian climate, you generally don't need it, and the fuel already passes through a heat exchanger. Well, no, it goes through a heat exchanger back to tank. This is actually coming from tank. So yeah, I've heard of plenty of people deleting them and having no issues at all. So good. Need to fix you up. Well, that's going on the block anyway. there. Beautiful. That'll do it. Yeah. About 3 cuts. Saves trying to saw through it. I've only got an abrasive saw, which kind of sucks for aluminium, or a like hand saw and recip saw, and then you still got to clean the edge up. So halfway there. He's using a 1/4 inch Gar tool carbide end mill. Handles it like a champ. There we go, almost there. It is a fairly time consuming process, that's why I definitely don't show all the machining. There'd be a good 25-30 minutes just of machine work and prep work on this one part, so you won't see all of it, but I'm getting there. As you can see, I've drilled the holes, I've made sure everything fits up right. Now I'm just making the necessary clearances to get it in there. So, or get it to clear the inlet manifold, more importantly. So, yeah, it should be right. I might have to take that step back a bit more. That's all. Okay, so that's how it goes. It's about the best I can get it, and it'll work just fine. Just gotta get that bracket back in down underneath, and reattach some hoses. There's a little cooler in the front there, coolant heat exchanger. Needs to be plugged back in. Pull that down again and reconnect to the starter motor and everything. Yeah, it'll be alright. Well, I guess it's time to start putting it back together again. Oh, actually no, I finished that flange. I've got to put the pipe fitting in it, and then we can start putting it back together. Well, that is the finished product. Gasket, I'm going to use some high temp RTV sealant and bolt that little guy up, and we're ready to go. Perfect. Also knock that burr off, get a countersink and deburr that fitting. Excellent. Rightio, manifold is ready to tighten up. The servo is wired up and fitted. I've checked everything below the manifold and we're pretty good. I do have to nip this brace up after everything's in place, but that's later. I can get to that from underneath. Yeah, it's not looking too bad at all. I'm going to rerun the fuel lines and things, cable tie a few things. Without that giant EGR manifold here, it is going to be so much easier to service. You can almost do the starter motor from the top without that EGR crap in here. Very nice. So yeah, that's gone in, that's in, that's in. We are good to go. Start whacking parts on. I don't have a manual, don't ask me about torque specs. I know what tight enough feels like. I've spent my whole life assembling and disassembling things, so you just sort of get the feel for it. It's good enough. Nah, we'll be right. It's just a matter of evenly tightening that manifold and do it properly. There is a sequence, usually starting from the inside and working out. I will double check that, but to be honest, it's just like any other manifold. It's just made out of plastic. Hopefully you don't hear any loud crack sounds while I'm doing it. That would be bad. Alright, getting there. Progress so far, the manifold's in, the fuel to water heat exchangers half in, it's not connected yet. Got to find a razor blade and clean up these hoses. There's a lot of extra length, so they normally wrap around neat and the plastic cover goes over them. I'm not fussed about that, so I'm just trimming a little bit off them where flexible length isn't an issue, and refitting them for now until I get new ones. Some of them are fairly specialty moulded. I mean, something like that can be rerun in regular coolant hose, but that one there comes out at a right angle from the banjo. That's all return fuel to tank, so that's all good to go. I didn't actually, apart from the lift pump, which is plugged off, I haven't actually breached any of the high pressure injection side, which is nice. Oh, I did take that off, but again, that was all cleaned out and made sure everything's nice. It's all post filter, so I just blew some fresh fuel through and cleaned it out. Yeah, we're good to go. Next up, I think I'll put the EGR block back on. This guy here. I couldn't remove that. It's well and truly stuck on, but that's not an issue with anything really. It can just stay there. So he's going back on. Would be nice to modify this though. Not sure. It would be nice to get rid of all this on the intake side. One day. It doesn't have to be done straight away. Maybe when I do the exhaust, I'll also take this off and bore out and plug off the inside. I'll make it look legit, but it won't be legitimate. Yeah, I reckon a big British standard pipe screw cap in there would take up most of that, although it's a fairly intricate casting. Maybe I'll just leave it be for the time being until I can make something completely new and custom, get it breathing even a little bit better. Right, I guess I better focus on what I'm doing and keep putting stuff back on. I do need to anchor that somewhere. The front end of the manifold's alright. That's going to be clamped in. I'm just worried about the back. Without all that extra weight hanging off it, flex and vibration related cracking shouldn't be an issue, but I'm still going to run a little bracket up to here to the back, take up one of these threaded inserts. Alright, I know a few people were saying they were a bit afraid of getting something like this back together again, but to be honest, that's the easy part for me. Getting it apart safely, reliably, and in a manner that it can be put back together again is the most time consuming bit. This is just going back together really easy. So yeah, I've got my bypass hose. I do need to order a new one of these. They're $160 each in Australia from Unique Auto Parts, where I got the pump and everything from. They've never stocked them before, so I'm guessing he just got the Mercedes-Benz catalogue price. Like, just get it straight from them, not looking overseas or anything. So you pay a premium. But I'm going to look overseas, and for now I might even run a coolant hose over the top of the engine. I mean, the big foam bulge that was on top of the hood liner has been eaten out by rats and is gone. I cut it out and removed it when I got the car. So there's a bit of a space here. Even if I just have to zip tie it down to the injection lines here and just run a loop over to the heater core to keep that working, I'll do it, but I'd rather find something more suitable. I need some right angle bends. I might have to go to Repco and just see what they've got in the way of a sort of a right angle piece that can go from the back of the block to or the cylinder head to the heater core, and then the other side just comes straight off and goes into my own made up white pipe. That one there that I made up not long ago. So yeah, I'm getting there. Okay, so I've decided I've got a bit of a slack loop hanging down behind where the EGR used to be, for the heater core anyway. I'm going to put a bracket on here and just cable tie that off. There's a couple of hoses and things that need to be cable tied and tidied up. That fuel hose actually needs to be lengthened, I think. Yeah, I need a longer fuel hose. I'll get some of that tomorrow. But anyway, that's all in. Basically ready to drop the radiator assembly and everything in. I think that's about it, really. I might get the lower intercooler hose on first. That one's already on, that's already in there. Looking pretty good. Might even be able to start her up tonight. Or maybe tomorrow, we'll see. Alright, so the refrigerant lines are just getting new O-rings on them. I've got one of these sets from the refrigeration supply store, and they're all fitting back together very nicely. So he'll go back in there. Yeah, a few other little bits and pieces to reattach, and pretty much good to go. And what else have I got? I've got the inlet stuff. That's where that 3-pin, no, the other 3-pin plug. Yeah, you're on one of them. I'm just working out where everything goes again. I know that your intercooler air temperature sensor, you probably go across the top to the hood release. I think that's part of the hood release. And the rest of it, well, I might have to look back at my own videos. This is where documenting stuff like this really helps. Because if you do get stuck, you do have something to fall back to, which is often better than a user's manual or repair manual. But overall, pretty good. Okay, well, I've got a fair bit of it sorted now. Refrigeration system or air conditioning system sorted. I've got to reconnect the inlet to the intercooler. Fan's right, cooling hose is right, lower hose needs to go on. I'll do that after I flush the block out tomorrow. That still needs attention. There's a bit to do. I've got to do a list up there. I'm going to start writing lists on the wall of what I'm doing, just so I don't lose track too much. Yeah, there's still plenty more to do tomorrow. Nose plate can go back on, and pretty much right. Yeah, we're ready for a test run tomorrow. Fantastic.